Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. In this episode we'll make some no-knead pizza. I was always skeptical when it came to no-knead breads, but this thing made me a believer. It's a perfect crust. Long fermentation gives it a nice distinct flavor, and the effort that you have to put in to make this great pizza is really minimal. This is definitely one for the lazy bakers out there, and I am planning to make some more no-knead recipes on this channel, so keep an eye out. But for now, let's get on with the pan pizza. And as always, you'll find all the details down in the description box with metric and imperial units. So first up, let's see what equipment we need. Obviously, it's a pan pizza. We need a non-stick pan. We need a bowl to mix the dough in, scales, a dough scraper, and a temperature probe. That's about it. Now on to the ingredients. Some strong white bread flour, water, yeast, salt, some olive oil. And for toppings, I'm going to use some grated mozzarella, some basil leaves, some parmesan, and some pizza sauce. Now let me show you the easiest pizza sauce you could ever make. Got some tinned tomatoes, salt, oregano, a couple cloves of garlic, a few leftover basil stalks, and a splash of olive oil. Now get it all in a jug, and then using a stick blender, just blitz it up. And there you go, the easiest pizza dough covered with the easiest pizza sauce. This whole process literally takes no effort, so it's great. Now give it a taste, adjust the seasoning if you need to, then place it on the side. We can start making our dough. Now my kitchen is around 25 degrees Celsius, so I want my water to be around 22. This might seem a bit warm, but because we're not kneading the dough, that's what we want. So grab your bowl, add your water and your salt, then your yeast, and in with the olive oil. After that comes the flour, and that's our last ingredient. Now grab your scraper and give the dough a good mix until you don't see any more dry flour. And you want to mix it thoroughly. You don't want any dry floury bits left over. Scrape the sides of the bowl down, make sure the dough is in one piece. Any stray bits that you have might dry out and you don't want that. And once it's all mixed up and scraped up, we're done. Now let's take the temperature. You want it to be around 24 to 25 degrees Celsius. So instead of kneading this dough, we want to perform a series of folds on it. So cover it up and leave it to rest for 5 minutes. And to create some kind of gluten structure, we'll fold it 4 times. So this is the first fold, and what you want to do is wet your hand, then stretch the dough up and fold it over itself. Then turn it 90 degrees, stretch it, and fold it over again. And if your hand starts sticking, just wet it with some water again. But make sure it's not dripping wet. You don't want to add any water to the recipe. You only want to prevent your hand from sticking to the dough. By stretching the dough over itself and folding it, we are creating layers in the gluten structure. And this is replacing the kneading process. Now cover it up, we'll let it rest for 5 more minutes, and we'll give it another fold. And the second fold should be performed just the same as the first one. Wet your hand, stretch the dough up, fold it over itself, turn the bowl 90 degrees, and repeat. You want to do it on all 4 sides. Now cover it up again, leave it for 5 more minutes, and then we'll fold it again. This will be fold number 3. You can actually see it's starting to puff up as well, so it's fermenting slowly. So that was the third fold. Let's cover it up again, leave it for 5 more minutes. You will feel the dough change as you go along. You'll start resisting more when you pull it, and that's a good sign. And now we want to do the 4th and final fold. This time, you want to cover it up, let it rest for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, get it in the fridge, and we'll leave it to cold proof for up to 48 hours. This gives us great flexibility of when to bake. And as you can see, the dough is puffed up beautifully. And the long cold fermentation will give it a very distinct flavor. Look at all those bubbles as well. Now grab your tin. If you have a non-stick tin, that's great. If you don't, then use some paper. Now get some oil on the dough, a little bit in the tin as well. Rub it all over. You want to grease everything nicely to prevent sticking. And of course the oil will add an extra flavor to the dough. I like to pour it around the sides of the bowl. This makes it really easy to release the dough from the bowl. Then using your scraper, release it. Roll the dough around the oil and place it straight into your pan. It will deflate at this point, but that's fine. We'll stretch it out and we'll leave it to ferment and we'll puff up once again. And what you want to do now is just to gently stretch it out. If it's not stretching, then don't force it. Just dimple it with your fingers, stretch it as much as you can without tearing it, and cover it up and leave it to ferment. It will puff up anyway. It should take around an hour and a half to 2 hours, and during this time you want to preheat your oven to 230 degrees C with the fan off. And once your dough is risen and filled the pan, we're ready to top it. And as I said before, it deflated, but it's puffed up once again. And if it hasn't quite reached the corners of the pan, you can stretch it out gently a little bit more. But don't press too hard, you might risk deflating it. Now when it comes to toppings, what I like to do is sprinkle most of the mozzarella straight onto the dough. And then come in with the basil leaves. And after that, add the sauce. And of course you can top your pizza with whatever you like. This is just a simple topping, it tastes great and it works really well. And once you've spread the sauce all over, finish off with the rest of the mozzarella. And lastly, layer of parmesan. I already feel that this is gonna be great. Right, let's get this baby in the oven. It should not take more than 25 to 30 minutes. You want it to be puffed up and golden brown all over. Right, once it comes out of the oven, it's important to let it rest, because at the moment it's still a bit fragile. Leave it to set for around 10 minutes before you take it out the pan. You don't want to destroy it now. And don't worry about it cooling down, because it will stay hot for quite a while. It is a thick pizza. And it's as simple as that. No-knead pan pizza with the easiest sauce ever. Give it a try. I promise you'll love it. And as always, if you have any questions or suggestions, leave them down in comments. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I make bread baking videos every Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.